Pastor K. Jones, preaching the word of Jesus, we making his name well.
And this one boggled my mind. You have one representative, James Clyburn, I think that's his name. He said, well, if you do that for descendants of slaves, what about mulattoes, light-skinned blacks who enjoyed freedoms long before slavery had ended? And so we turn this into a light-skinned, dark-skinned thing? Really? And this is a brother. So that's the dumbest argument when you talk about, because they were still injured. Their people were still injured. And Rosa Parks and her grandfather was considered a mulatto, but he still had to carry a piece to protect himself daily when he in Alabama. So that's dumb. That's dumb. And then you have some people who believe that it shouldn't be payments to descendants of black slaves. It should be something else. But here is the question: why can it not be both and? Why can it not be building up infrastructure in communities where predominantly black populations exist and giving out payments? Here's the issue. Here's the issue, and I'm gonna give my opinion on that, because they're looking at the state of black communities. And they're looking at the crime infestation and the drug infestation and the poverty mindset. But here's the issue, is that you think that African American people are too dumb to give money to. When you go back and look at all the arguments, that's what the issue. You really think that African American people are too dumb to give money to, and it wouldn't be wise. And you think that, they're not going to use the money wisely. But I challenge you to go back and look at African American people who have prospered through some activity. First of all, everybody's not going to be a basketball player. Secondly, everybody is not going to be a scientist or computer genius to be able to, everybody's not going to be a big financial, but everybody has a gift. And so if you look at people who are of African descent, who have made it, and you see people like LeBron James, and you see them come up financially, they've used the money wisely. If you look at hip hop artists, you see how they've given and how they donate and how they bring people up, bring their society up with them. So don't patronize, for lack of a better term, black people, thinking that because of the condition of their communities, you have to dumb down reparations. That's a stupid argument too. And I'm going to give you my opinion of why I think that is. Because the empowerment financially of a people that you have redlined and herded into communities without any type of hope being displayed in those communities. You push drugs and you filter drugs into the community, because ain't no black man going over to Colombia getting the drugs. So how did they get there? You advertise liquor and alcohol in the community. You put casinos in the community. You do all these things. But if they get their own money, then they start to build up things. You even go to California. You have gangsters who protect their hood. They want their hood to look good, and they make sure it's clean. And so why are you I don't know why are you demonizing and vilifying black folks, and you think that they can't handle money. But here's the problem, is that you saw what happened in Prosper, Kansas. You saw what happened in Greenwood, Oklahoma, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the Greenwood community. And you don't want things like that. You saw what happened on 9th Street, because that was the whole, in 1955, that was the whole dilemma or whole reason that the interstate systems were created, because they took the interstate systems and took them right down through the black community, separating black industry from black lives. And so now anywhere you go in America, if you want to find the hood, you go to the interstate. And you'll find that the interstate runs straight down through the black community. And you're afraid that because you have marginalized them and you have redlined them and put them into communities, that when they get money, they can start building up their own communities. And they won't need, you're going to hear me say this, they won't need the Arabs to come in and take their money, because they can circulate their own dollar. They won't need the Chinese to come in and put businesses and restaurants in their community, selling soul food like one of us is in the kitchen. They won't need that. And so when you empower them, you empower the community that you have suppressed and suffocated. African slaves descendants of African slaves have always been resourceful. And for you to make it seem like black people are too dumb to know how to be resourceful, that you don't want to put a check in their hand, that's foolish. You just don't want to see people empowered. And especially you African-American senators and African-American representatives who are there in the White House and on Capitol Hill, who have the ability to change the narrative, for you to feel as though you is irresponsible to put it in their hands. Here it is, Ecclesiastes chapter 11. It says, you need to sow and give, not trying to determine what the condition is going to be like. He said, don't withhold your hand in the morning or the evening. He said, because who knows the way of the Spirit? And who knows what the seed will bring forth, whether it's good or bad? Just like you don't know how bones grow in the womb of a mother. How can you determine what's going to happen when you put money where it's supposed to be put? You can't decide that. You have to let God decide that, especially if you owe it. You don't decide how people use what you owe them. This is it. That's all I have to say. This is Hella Joe Second Son. Saying life is too short to play games, so keep it real. 2 fingers to the north. We out. Pow.